Over 2 decades of sports radio dominance in Utah.
My favorite.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, and we are joined now by Elaine Elliot, former women's basketball coach at the University of Utah. Will be honored at the Huntsman Center this weekend with a banner going up in the rafters. Elaine, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Does it seem just totally bizarre? I mean, you still remember, 25-year-old Elaine. It's like, how is this happening? You're getting a banner recognizing 582 career wins, obviously NCAA tournaments and deep tournament runs, Sweet 16, Elite Eights, all that kind of stuff. It's all coming together. I assume you're going to have a lot of people there.
Well, you said it all in terms of, is this really happening? Yeah, does this happen to people? You never once consider this. You go to practice every day and you love everything about what you're doing, and you get to have these lasting relationships with kids who now are about for the total of about 47 years as we count from when I started. And I just, I'm so lucky and thankful because there's exactly one way anything this ever happens for a coach, and that is the players who won all those games.
I've known you for a long time, and you always were a good interview. You'd speak your mind, and I'm just wondering what you think of the advancements in women's sports. You're one of the OGs. I believe you played at Boise, and I'm guessing for when you did that to what it is now, the progression that has been made maybe blows your mind, but assess the overall state of women's college basketball compared to when you started to where it is now.
Well, the game itself is amazingly, watched and followed and adored. I mean, those are that's the biggest difference, right? We didn't play in front of a lot of people till later on in my career, and then we had some pretty big crowds at times, especially with the rivalry game. We all know what that does to people.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest, greatest, coolest thing that's happened. I mean, the entire process of women getting scholarships and getting money to make their way through school. I mean, that is all thank goodness, right? Was long due, and women just they didn't play for that reason, and yet they deserved all of that alongside their male counterparts. And now, of course, you're right. The game is just crazy now in this new model of college athletics. For me, I coached at the right time. I have certainly, I have no ill feelings towards the people in the game now and what is out there for them, although it's still a small minority of them. You still have the majority of athletes at the college level are amateurs. But the way it's changed now with basically the pro levels up in football and obviously men's basketball and other sports like women's basketball, who some of those gals are making good money, it's still, the model is professional. And, I wasn't a part of that. And I'm kind of glad not to have been, just because I would have had a lot bigger job to do, although I would have had a much bigger staff to get it done.
Yeah, there you go.
So maybe I wouldn't have minded that. Just the idea of, they've got to come to terms with what this model really needs to be to service the idea that it's even on college campuses. It is a pro model in ways that yet don't really fairly address the pro part of a pro sport. I mean, pro sports has it figured out. Obviously, they've done a lot of things to try to keep the product competitive because that's still the best thing for the game. And the colleges and the NCAA don't yet have those answers in writing. So we'll see.
PK mentioned you played before Title IX was fully implemented. And now there's scholarships, there's planes. Depending on the school, there might even be chartered planes. What was it like when you were playing basketball in high school and college? What was it like? How different was it? Can you give people some tangible examples of how it's just completely changed?
Well, even though Title IX came in 73, it took some years to actually get money. I received $500 in my senior year. That's a change. The experience was, we just had the things that create the stories for us are a lot different. Ours were van rides, right? I don't remember flying anywhere except back to the national tournament. So we're in 13, 14-hour van rides to go up into the Seattle area, and our coaches are the drivers. But we tell the stories of what happened in the vans and the cars. And we couldn't wait to get the practices after winter breaks, and we end up coming back like 2 hours before practice is going to start, and it has just snowed, and so we're out in our cars in the parking lot doing cookies, just waiting for the doors to open, because all we wanted to do was get in and get back to playing basketball. The memories are different, no better, just different. And it was, I was in the old guard, but not the ones who created the situation for women. Those were the Fern Gardners and the Norma Carrs. So I was a recipient of it, for sure. Had great college and high school coaching opportunities, really because I had played college basketball. That is what made women qualified enough in people's eyes to be a college coach, was having played in college. So you can see the differential there for men and women as we started out, even back then.
This quote you gave me is coming up on 30 years when I used to work for the Tribune and covered men's and women's basketball for the U of U, and it has stuck with me all this time, and I loved it, and I'm going to repeat it. You said, women's basketball jobs are good when men start wanting them. And I thought that was just brilliant. And you put it out there, and there was a bit of sarcasm, but a whole lot of truth. And we see that today. I mean, the fact is, these are great jobs now, and that's an advancement. So I guess you got to take it, right?
Right. I mean, the advancement in it is just, what is valued, obviously, in our culture, and sport is no different, as you see the changes in the monetary systems of athletics. As soon as there was money in it, guys wanted it.
Right.
And that's pretty simple. It's not, it's just the truth, and, no anger. You can't change things until they're ready to change. And the thing that was great was, as women played college basketball and became very good at the game and understanding it and turning it over and coaching women in the game, well then, even the men who controlled women's athletics understood the value in women coaching women. So we sort of went through that time frame where, men started to take jobs that women always had, and then you started to see it, again, even up over time. And there became qualified women who just said, and were successful. And it just opened the door for women to be in what has always been a male world. And there's just great jobs out there. And there are great women and men coaches.
582 career wins. I guess you're going to put that number up on your banner. I was surprised when you said it'll be great to have a lot of your former players back for this, because you continue to apologize to some of the players from the early years.
Yeah,
back
sure.
to PK about the truth and the sarcasm. So explain why that is.
Look, I was 27 when I started, and I didn't want Fern to retire any more than the players wanted Fern to retire. I wasn't ready, but she was. So thankfully, she pushed hard enough that I had that opportunity. But, I got better every year that I've coached. I mean, the best coach I was the last year I coached. And I don't know how it could have gone any other way. I look at things in life the same way. I've never thought I knew it all, or thought I, had it all, or thought I deserved it all. I just kept I kept doubting myself. That's how I got better. I kept trying to get better at the things I didn't do well. And so, of course, the recipients of the worst of that were my first players.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can say that across the board. I listened to a podcast with Morgan Scally, and he was talking about how Kyle Whittingham has told him, you're going to go through a learning curve. You've been trained, and he was trained to be the head coach of U football longer than you were trained to be the head women's basketball coach, obviously, because he'd been an assistant for 20 years, and you just said you were 27, and he's 20 years older than that right now. But he understands that there's going to be a learning curve. So I think that most people would understand that you would get better. And I'm wondering, with the knowledge that you have, and you decided to retire, I think right around the time they were switching conferences, if I remember correctly, that with all the stuff that's available today, combined with your knowledge, like you used to have to stand up the tunnel, and I'll pull back the curtain a little bit here, and have to bounce the balls a lot, because that meant, guys, somebody over there, you're going over your time, and it's our time to get on the gym. Because you told me that, and I remember those days. We had conversations, right? Well, now you got adjacent to the Huntsman Center, essentially, you got this beautiful facility, and the number of women's basketball players that are available, the recruiting pool. You used to have to go to Canada and look under rocks to get players. I mean, the way you recruited, and you found players everywhere to get them to come to the U of U, and were extremely successful. I was wondering, how do you think you would do today with all the far more advantages that are available to everyone?
Well, it's beautiful to see those facilities and all the things that are available to coaches and coaching staff. The thing that doesn't change is the stress and the winning and the losing. I think as far as how I feel about the game, or my own understanding and knowledge and how that would transfer, I'm really confident that it wouldn't have changed anything, that I would be successful. The resources would grow with the competition. The thing that's always important is that you should always want to be and expect to be around the best all the time, comparative to, certainly, teams that share the same resources. We were never in a power league, but we were always the best at the leagues that we were in. I look at the game now, and I watch the game, and I've had the opportunity to do some analysis actually for the first time on TV, which, now here I am starting over again, right? Just the rookie, the newbie. But I just feel like that's just the part of it is still, what do you do on the floor? What do you do to coach? What do you do with the players? How do you get them to be their best, and how do you perform well enough to help them be their best? So that hasn't changed. I mean, if I just went to practice for 2 hours a day, I'd still be in college athletics. I love it. I just want to sleep at night. The stress is real. The need to win and lose is real.
Right.
And even though it seemed like I maybe was retired earlier than some, I started earlier than most.
Yeah, there you go. That's true.
This media job, how did this happen? Because for people who watch the games on ESPN Plus, you're the analyst. How does this happen? Are you going to be calling this Cincinnati game and just take the headset and then walk out there at halftime as they reveal the banner? How does that work?
Yeah, I actually am. When I first started this, of course, I had known about the banner for a while, so it didn't strike me as unusual that I would just do the job I had that night, and then we'd have the banner reveal. Now, this week has been a little more stressful. Just kind of all the things that happen around it, and but yeah, that's fine. What would I do otherwise, right? I'd be chit-chatting with other people. Instead, I'll just chit-chat, with Tony. So it's just been fun. They wanted to have a coach. They thought it might be an interesting perspective to use somebody at Utah with my background, just so that I kind of had the stories that nobody else had, and kind of had the experiences that nobody else had within the program itself. And they wanted to present that to the TV audience. And I thought that might really be cool to do, and I really enjoyed it. You guys don't believe that, do you?
Well, you've evolved. Let's just leave it there. You've evolved, Elaine.
See?
You continue to grow and evolve.
I had a long ways to go, and hey, even the dumb ones can make it at some point.
I think one of the fun things for coaches is to bring in an 18-year-old kid and then watch that person, man, woman, whatever it might be, grow up, so to speak. And by the time they're done, especially in that age group is a massive difference in just life and maturity from the time they're 18 to the time they're 22, 23, and they're ready to go on and they're done with their athletic eligibility, right? And that's the fun part, to see players develop as human beings and, of course, on the floor or on the field, whatever it might be. With that in mind, it's not as prevalent in the women's game, but it's still there, this immediate eligibility and the rampant transferring and all that. And then, you wonder what is lost in the translation of doing all that in the process. I'm just wondering what you think of the rules that are available that kids can hopscotch if it's not working. Or even if it is working, for that matter, they still want to go.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes back to my earlier comment about, basically the colleges everybody's a free agent every year of their eligibility. I mean, who could manage that? And what's good about that for the game, the university game? I mean, there's just nothing good about that. So again, rules somehow they have to change. They have to try to manage that in ways that can keep this competitive. And as far as the the personal experiences and those parts, there's nothing that equals what happens in programs and with the people in programs who have a 4-year to 5-year experience with teammates that are theirs and always theirs, and coaches who are there. And share that with them and help grow them. I mean, I still, I watch kids go through the pains of those college years, and you can't speed up their path. They're going to get where they're going to get to. You're there for them like a parent would be for them, but you're also understanding that, they're going to come out the other side. And I see now the kids that have those kinds of personal things occur in college years that we were there for, we knew of, but we couldn't change for them. And now they're out there, with lives and careers and professionals that they're the ones doing that kind of work with kids in that formative age. You can't do that in a year, and you can't experience that as a player and as an athlete. As I talked on Friday night a little bit at our legacy dinner that before Saturday, it's going to include the idea that the experiences that they talk about and the stories that we have are things that these kids went through because they shared a period of time and a period of experiences, and not just a season of basketball.
Right,
so
exactly.
I feel badly for that. That's the part. I don't like that part of this model. I think it's bad. I'm glad I'm not part of that. I'm glad that I'm part of the experience as it was when I was coaching.
Elaine Elliot, longtime Utah women's basketball coach, joining us Saturday. They will put a banner up in the rafters with her name on it, her 582 career wins. 15 conference titles, 15 NCAA tournament appearances, including the Sweet 16 in 2001 and the Elite 8 in 2006. So many memories in the Huntsman Center. And I know this is above your pay grade now, but when you heard they were probably pivoting from building a brand new arena to remodeling the Huntsman Center, is there a part of you that likes that, given all the memories you have in the Huntsman Center?
Well, yeah, no, you think, I still have people I could bring back, right? I have nieces and nephews and say, hey, look where I, coached for all those years. So there's a nostalgia to it. At the same time, this is how it works, right? There's going to be you just move forward. And part of that is going to be moving to new physical facilities. So, my heart isn't broken. It's just, not a bad question to ask and something to reflect on, but nothing to worry about.
Well, Elaine, I call you Coach. I'm not comfortable calling you Elaine, so I'm gonna stick with what I knew, calling you Coach. It was a pleasure to cover your program all those years. You guys were as fundamentally sound as anybody, and I think this is an honor that's well deserved. So congratulations.
Listen to both of you. I just can't thank you enough. And Pat, yeah, those were the good days. You were always good. You were always good, and you were always fair, and nobody could ask for more.
Thank you.
Elaine, thanks for joining us, and enjoy Saturday. It should be fun.
Thank you so much. See y'all at 5 o'clock.
Okay. Elaine Elliot, Utah hosting Cincinnati women's basketball game, 5 o'clock. She'll be on the broadcast on ESPN+, and then they will honor her with the banner, and then she'll finish calling the game. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You can head on up to the Huntsman Center if you want to enjoy that on Saturday. Stay with us.